Hi, this is Shona. Thanks for joining me today for this Insights video. And today I would like to get into Galatians 5 and talk about the two lists that we find there. One of them being the list when we're operating from the flesh, and the other the list from when we're operating with the fruits of the Spirit. The Spirit is being our guide. First of all, I'm going to read the list, the fleshy list, which I'll often might refer to as the bad list, the one we want to avoid. So it's kind of long, so bear with me. But it's sexual immorality, moral impurity, promiscuity, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissension, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and anything similar. That covers a lot. There's a lot of ground for the flesh to take over or us to operate in the flesh. Now, the fruits of the Spirit as listed in Galatians 5 includes love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So when we're operating in the Spirit and trying to do things God's way, that's what we're going to reap, and that's what we're going to sow. So as I was studying this a couple days ago, it occurred to me that if we put both of these lists, the bad list and the good list, the fruit list, in front of a bunch of random people, Christians and non-Christians, believers, non-believers, I figured that if you asked them what list would they prefer to live and benefit from and promote, I bet most everybody is going to choose the fruits list, the love, joy, peace, kindness, all of that. I mean, really, who's going to say that they want to promote and live their life, with promiscuity and hatred and jealousy and envy and dissension and things like that? I really don't think most people would. I think we're all going to, Christian and non-Christian alike are going to choose from the list, the fruits of the Spirit. So if that's the case, I got to wondering, why is there so much dissension in the world? Why is there so much dissension in the churches? It just doesn't make sense. If that's everybody's end game, why aren't we all more on the same page and getting along better? Well, it dawned on me that the difference, or what's got to be the difference between people that are truly living by the spirits, maybe spirit, and those that maybe are sowing the dissension and the strife on, from the bad list, living through the flesh, is what truths govern our lives. So if you're a Christian, then God's truth is what you try to model your life after. That's what you strive for. That's what you really try to live. Now, non-Christians, they don't claim to follow God, or they don't claim Jesus, so we really can't expect them to do things God's way. Now, I have some really good unbeliever friends that they're great people, they're nice people, and they live pretty good lives, but that's because, whether they realize it or not, they're modeling their lives a lot after Christian ideals and Christian principles, whether they realize it or not. But for most people, getting to the end game, like the things like having self-control or living peace, might look a little bit different depending on what set of truths that you follow. Now, for non-Christians, since they don't follow God's truth, they follow the truth that seems right to them. We've all probably heard the term, or most of us have heard the term, relative truth, or what is truth for me, or what's right for me might not necessarily be truth or right for another person. We can all have our own sets of truths or standards that we follow, and that's okay, because they don't all have to match up. And on a personal level, it's probably not too bad of a thing, but you can see where that might get a little bit confusing and chaos when you bring a bunch of people together in society and we all have different sets of truths. So, for example, say just two people that don't follow God's truth, and let's ask them. Let's throw out bank robbery, maybe like Robin Hood kind of stuff. Someone might say, "Oh no, it's not good to take anything that doesn't belong to you." Well, so another person might say, "Well, no, it's okay. You can take from someone else as long as you're using it for good." So when those two sets of truths from two different individuals don't line up, you can see where maybe there's going to be chaos. And you can see where, even if everybody wants to be on the same page as far as fruit, that they're really not. They're not eating the same fruit. The fruit might look different, and how to get to that fruit doesn't really line up. So let's just see how would that look in the everyday life for a Christian wanting to live one of the fruits of the Spirit. And let's use self-control. If a Christian following God's standards wants to do self-control, they're going to try to avoid everything that's on that bad list, the fleshy list. They're just going to bypass, even if they want to do something on that list, they're going to really work hard to try not to do it and thus bear the fruit of self-control. Now, someone that doesn't have, God's standard, and their standard's going to be whatever's right for them and what they feel right, and it doesn't match up with someone else. But if they want to pursue self-control, they might not pursue promiscuity, but they might have an angry outburst and think that that's okay if they run into, say, an idiot driver or a mean salesperson. Sorry about that noise. The sprinklers just came on behind me, so just ignore that if you can. Hopefully it's not too loud. Okay, so a person with relative truth might not be jealous of others, but maybe they're totally okay clawing themselves to the top at work, stepping on their coworkers as they go. And even though they say that they operate in self-control, they still can leave a wake of destruction because their truths are different, and they still end up hurting people on their way. They view some fleshy actions as okay, while they put the reins on some. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm describing that well. If it doesn't quite make sense, bear with me because I have my own example. Sometimes I'm my best worst example, if that makes sense. But many years ago, when my kids were in elementary school, I was PTO president for a couple of years, and the principal that I had to work with, we just did not see eye to eye. Neither one of us were each other's favorite person. So one thing that I wanted to change as PTO president is they had really a ridiculous awards system there. They gave stupid awards, like my son actually got an award for be nice to Susie Q when she was having a bad day. Now, not to say that that's not nice. I mean, that's being kind and everything, but an award that's really not a meaningful award. And that's what I wanted to institute into the school. Well, I shared that with the principal, and he didn't see eye to eye. Well, I got a little bit passionate, and I told him, well, you know what we do with the awards my kids get from your school? We file them in the trash can, and I left it at that. Well, here was the good little church lady who lived by the fruits of the Spirit, but I didn't promote peace, I didn't promote kindness, I didn't produce self-control. All that stuff went out the window, but yet I was a good church lady. Well, it didn't take long for God to address that in me. The very next day in my Bible study, God took me to Proverbs, 14:30. And this is what it read in my version of the Bible. A tranquil mind gives life to the flesh, but passion makes the bone rot. Well, I was immediately convicted and thought, oh my gosh, I sowed bone rot yesterday. My passion for awards got the best of me, and I certainly didn't have a tranquil mind, and I left bone rot. So despite being an advocate for the list of the fruits of the Spirit, I had sowed things from the bad list. I had operated in my flesh and left a horrible stench. And it just wasn't very Christian, and I was immediately convicted. Well, I decided that since God's my standard and I didn't operate in a way that was becoming of God or me, I went immediately the next day and I apologized to the principal. It was hard, but it was the right thing to do because of the truth that governed my life. I told him that I didn't apologize for my message, but I apologized profusely for the delivery. And he in turn told me that he was glad that I didn't just talk the talk, but that I walked the walk as well. And because of that, we always had a mutual respect. We still really didn't like each other very much, but we had more of a mutual respect after that. Never did get my awards program changed, but I did have a heart change. And I'm glad I got that lesson at that point, because now I'm still not perfect, but now I go back to there and I think of those lists, I compare them, and I'm better at operating from the fruits list more often than I am the flesh list. So I hope that speaks to you. It was a really painful lesson for me, but I got it and I'm better for it. So I hope you'll join me next time when I do my next Insights video.